Oh, right. You probably want to show. Oh, no, that's interesting. There we go. Now I hear it. That's good. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, I guess this must mean I wanna, because I'm here, and this is Cause I Wanna, and I'm Jimmy Snow. We have a phone number at 720-619-2288. 720-619-2288, and that is where you can call and tell me why you would vote for Trump. We're going to be doing these extra political shows from here until the election because it's what we want to know. It's what we want to reveal. Let's see if people are voting, taking such action that has such significant consequences with an actually accurate foundation. If you want to also call it to challenge on any other political thing, such as we did last night, saying that you prefer to vote third party or whatever other wrong position you hold, give us a call, 720-619-2288, 720-619-2288. I'm Jimmy Snow. I have a podcast. Jimmy Snow has a podcast. Is available where podcasts are. I'm just waiting for some calls to get screened, but there are lines open. You can call in right now. There's also a web link in the description if you're wanting to call using your computer, if that is the method by which you wish to contact. What up? Chat, throw some questions in chat for a minute while we wait for calls to be screened and to come in and everything. Go ahead and just we'll Q&A it a little bit. We'll Q&A. All I see is somebody going, Jimmy, as we wait for these calls to appear. I'm excited for any amount of bravery. I'd love to see a person. You know what's I find so very, very funny is how much the right describes that the left wants to be in an echo chamber, or the American left wants to be in an echo chamber. When one of the things I've noticed is if you are on, especially if you're on the left, not the American left, you're actually expected to know your shit and therefore go out of your way much more often to actually challenge it and engage and do things like this. It is very funny to also be told, hey, you who have a show where somebody can call in and tell you their opposing viewpoint, tonight on politics, another night on God, other nights on women's issues, and other nights on trans issues. We're just building an echo chamber here. We don't want to hear any opposition except for that is literally our bread and butter. I want to hear that opposition real hard. Does Jimmy Snow have a podcast? That is true. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? What universe do you want to live in? All right. Well, I was thinking good questions. What's the meaning of life? Whatever you make it. All right. I suppose we can get started now. It looks like people are queuing up and we've got a couple of things screened. I should definitely get my name tags ready. And we will we'll forego. I kind of like that we're finding out. I like that the screener is asking whether or not the people are atheist or theist, but I think I'm going to leave it off of the screen itself so as to try and avoid any sort of well poisoning, because I prefer that. I prefer an unpoisoned well, thank you very much. I don't rely on cognitive biases and logical fallacies. Yeah. Yep. Sorry, I'm having to multitask too many things at once and being a very rude host. All right, let's get started. Daniel in Alabama, you're on the line with Jimmy Snow. How are you?
Hey, Jimmy. Can you hear me good?
I sure do. How are you?
I'm great. I'm really good. I'm finally get to get in through I finally get that call. I'm sorry. I'm nervous, but
oh, there's nothing to be nervous about.
All right. Well, unluckily for where I live, Trump is in walking distance. He's watching the Alabama game. But anyways, I'm here to talk about how to deal with Trump supporters in my family. My dad's a Trump supporter. My whole family's a Trump supporter, and they found out that I'm not a Trump supporter, and they don't treat me like family anymore, and trying to figure out how to deal with that.
I think that honestly, the specific thing you're describing is probably something that you more have to deal in through something like therapy, honestly, than trying to give you some magic bullet or magic line of conversation that's going to work on your family. I've mentioned it many, many times on here that when it comes to that, or it comes to convincing your God-believing family that their beliefs are silly, it's harder to actually change your family's minds than other people's minds. I mean, consider this channel, for example. Despite what many commenters who think that they could run a better show believe, we have solid evidence that we've changed many people's minds. And yet I'm trying to think of anybody here who changed their family's minds. And I can't think of one. There is a special barrier with family. So honestly, if I'm you, I'm not even necessarily just focusing on the political stuff, but what the other implications likely are of that. And I'd be probably joining like a group session with Recovering from Religion.org. They do these awesome Zoom things. By the way, this Monday, Recovering from Religion is doing their RFRX with Forrest Valkai. So if people want to get on a Zoom and do a Q&A there, I highly encourage people to somehow watch that and Skeptalk at the same time. That's the only right way to do it. But that's the gist of it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I have problems with my family with the God beliefs. Like my dad kind of tried to disown me whenever he found out I was an atheist. And right now I'm 17, and he won't take me to therapy because he believes that's like snake oil or whatever. So
you know the funny thing though,
difficult position.
So look, I'm going to say something controversial and people are going to fucking roast me in the comments, but I've been testing the shit out of this, and I've also been doing it while showing it to other mental health professionals, one of whom I won't actually mention any of their names. At a baseline, Daniel, if all you have access to is ChatGPT turns out to actually be pretty good at therapy style stuff. It is not a replacement for therapy. People, absolutely, you should get actual therapy, but ChatGPT and other AIs, it is going to be monumentally useful for people in the future that don't have access to therapy, or it's being guarded from them. I use it like crazy, sometimes to talk out stuff. Sometimes I'll literally say, hey, I'm having a panic attack right now. Can you give me an exercise that's maybe new or different to focus on? And it'll walk me through the steps. I'll ask it about, various things. How do some people handle this? Here's a problem I'm having. How do I communicate this? How do I talk about this? And it is actually an extremely capable thing. And even knowing its limits, it will say things like, listen, none of what I am saying is, you should consult with a therapist when you can, but for some baseline stuff, some exercises, some focus stuff, it basically has a database of all of the workbooks that if you've ever go through therapy, a lot of people know about these workbooks you get. So say you're working on an anxiety workbook and it's different things you can do. And it's building advice out of these things in a way that's conversational and beautiful. So between that and RFR, the ability to remotely do these things is pretty great. And this is going to be a great equalizer for people who, therapy's great. And I don't want therapists to go out of business, but right now a minority of people even have access to it. And if everybody who needed it was actually getting it, no one would be able to get a session within, you'd be able to get 2 sessions a year anyway. So it's going to be a great equalizer.
Yes. Thank you so much. I've just been really going through some bad stuff right now because I'm part of the LGBTQ community, and I've told my dad multiple times, I'm like, who would you rather? I said, well, I'm sorry, I keep stuttering. I have a speech impediment, but
you're fine.
I've talked to him. I'm like, well, he's trying to, he has a lot of bad things he's saying a lot of bad things about the LGBTQ community, and he's like out for us, especially if you read the Project 2025 stuff, and he doesn't care. He's like, well, all I care about is my financial situation, which makes no fucking sense. But
you should get your dad to call me, except for then he'd probably find this call and stuff. But I would have loved it.
I'm really not even supposed to be calling anyone because I didn't mean to say I'm 17, I'm 16, but I'm grounded for just being an atheist, and it was one of those things I just don't know what to do. I want to reach out to RFR. Thank you for telling me that. I'll try to
do that.
Look at that into the future.
Also, if you have a counselor at school, go talk to your counselor, because if there's, I am not going to make any claim about knowing what's going on there, and I'm not going to say you are or aren't being abused. But if it helps to have another person with that type of expertise to be able to assess that, and if it is the case that something is so bad that maybe someone else needs to get involved, right now you need to prioritize your safety, number one. So don't feel like you have to be defending any of these political positions, any of these social positions, because it sounds like it would make you not safe, Daniel. But yeah.
I mean, there's definitely been some times where it wasn't too great. I mean, I know I sent Matt Dillahunty a thing through like Messenger on Facebook. He hasn't responded. I don't know if he still does that. I've heard him mention people to text him or whatever, and I've tried to reach out to him, but yeah, I haven't gotten any responses. So I just thought it'd be best to call in. But
yeah, we get lots of messages, so don't be surprised that I maybe 5% of messages between all platforms that we receive actually get a reply. We just don't have the resources to cover everything. So, but Daniel, definitely very much prioritize your safety. And I'm serious. There are going to be people who are like, that's terrible advice. Stop supporting AI and stuff. And that's such a privileged take, because a lot of people don't have better or can't wait the amount of time it takes to see a therapist between or whatever. And seriously, like all of these things you're concerned about, I would just bounce it off of it. Nothing's going to be perfect, but yeah, bounce it off of it.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. It's good talking to you. Good luck.
All right. Good talking to you. Bye.
Those types of calls both break your heart and also make it very clear why we're doing shows like this, why we do things like this. I just need to I am live right now. That is, for those of you who know, Hopeless So Frantic, who runs that dog shelter that is paid for by her OnlyFans. She's been on shows with me before. That was her trying to call. I don't know which of my devices made a ringing sound. That was the odd part, because I thought I had everything muted across the board. All right, let's talk to, here we go, Enrique in Florida. Enrique in Florida, you're on the line with Jimmy Snow. How are you, Enrique? Good. All right, so you are calling to say what?
Okay, so I just saw the episode title, and it was, why would anyone vote Trump? And it goes back to, well, immigration.
Mm-hmm.
Here's one thing that I don't think has been mentioned almost at all about the immigration during the Trump era, that there was the entire separating children from parents and even like children in cages, but no one ever mentioned that. Why would these people be bringing children over, not over the border, but the land before the border? It's just like these dangerous terrain.
Enrique,
bringing their children
Enrique,
with them.
what do you
horrible.
think the answer to that question is? If somebody had to tell you why they did it, what do you think they're going to tell you?
That they had no choice, but
that they were fleeing a situation that was so bad that the risk to them was better. Children are rather resilient. Of the people who die, usually it's only because of things Greg Abbott does to them that causes them to die, and they tend to make it here. And you are talking about a group of people. If anything, I would say, Enrique, that this is against your point, because we should be asking, why are people bringing the children? Then go, oh, that's why? That's terrifying and horrific. Maybe a stay in Mexico policy or a you can't come in policy or shutting down refugees, shutting down asylum seekers would actually be horribly cruel, in fact. But go on.
But But the United States it's not a charity organization.
It kind of is, actually. It's not a charity, but it is an immigration melting pot with the promise that we want everybody.
And yes, but you say it could be so horrible. And here's the thing about the children that come. I mean, what about the ones that might be part of sex trafficking? What about the ones that are just assigned a parent?
Right. What about them? What about those ones? I know the answer to that. We should go out of our way to make sure that we are reducing the harm that can come from people. Enrique, imagine if I just flip your thing. Hey, there's going to be a lot of kids who are being abused in their societies, in their community, and their parents will be in danger. And they're going to come across the border, and we're going to say no because somebody else might be sexually abused in the system. And by the way, when you actually look into these things that people like Trump like to claim that you are now repeating, Enrique, it turns out to be the case that that's not very much what's happening at the border. Sex trafficked individuals tend to come by actually legal means. Same things with drugs. They think shutting down the border is going to stop when they've already figured this shit out. They've got tunnels for the hard smuggling they have to do, but most of the shit's coming by airplane legally.
Yeah, but yes, but the fact that they're like that they are these parents that they would subject children to that. I mean, you say
we've already described why that happens. We already went over this. The reason why their parents are doing it is because to stay where they were would be worse.
Yeah, yes, but to subject them to something that cruel, I mean, that just feels like so animalistic. And
again, that is worse. It is worse to stay. So you would be subjecting to them something more. The term you're trying to use is animalistic, because heartless, sociopathic individuals, not you as an individual actually being a sociopath, participating in this collective sociopathy that is being a member of the GOP, where you are told, in the name of love and for our people, here's how to not think of those people as humans. And now you're doing what is actually a baseline thing bigots always do, called dehumanizing in a very literal way, where you're now taking their humanity away and describing their actions as animalistic to try and poison the well and paint this picture of these people that as though they aren't actually a celebration of the greatest parts of humanity, that a parent would selflessly put themselves through hell for a chance to give their child a better life. But you sit there and go, but the trek, those caravans, what a horrible thing to subject them to. It's still worse than staying where they are. These are not people who don't love their children very much. It is that love and that humanity of theirs that is why they are doing it.
Hey, listen, I come from Colombia, and I've seen poverty there.
How did you get here from Colombia?
That's why it's less imaginable.
How did you get here from Colombia?
Excuse me?
How did you get here from Colombia?
That they actually legally from that. My parents actually came here, and they were citizens, and I became a citizen too.
Great. So your parents had tremendous privilege in Colombia. Have other people had less privilege in Colombia and wanted to come to America?
Well, of course. I see them lining up outside of the embassy in the capital city of Bogota. And
should we reject them?
Yeah, if they don't get through the proper paperwork. Yes.
Okay, so if they are legitimate asylum seekers, but if they fumble the paperwork, we should reject them and what? Send them back to Colombia where they may be in danger?
Are you talking about asylum seekers?
Whichever group you want. We don't have an open borders policy. It's bullshit that people pretend like we do. So right now, if you want to come here, talking over me never works. If you want to come here, you either have to do it, you have to do it legally through certain routes. And there are people who, when faced with bureaucratic shit that's going to get in their way, or they aren't able to maneuver because they aren't familiar with American bureaucracy, or whatever the reason is, that they just take the means that gets them to safety the fastest. And then when they're here, they live in absolute fear, which is why they commit less crimes as a community. Illegal immigrants commit less crimes than legal citizens do. And they actually contribute to our economy in a way that contributes to Medicare and Social Security. And they don't take anything back out from it. They're not getting welfare. They're not getting SNAP. They're not getting shit. But they are contributing both to our economy and our taxes.
Wait, but what do you mean? They get free medical care?
No, they do not.
Get free.
If a person shows up to the emergency room, a person who shows up to the emergency room may get medical care because we say you are not allowed to not. But America doesn't have free medical care. And by the way, why don't you talk to the many illegal immigrants who don't go to the emergency room and either lose a limb, end up dying, something terrible happens because they were too afraid to go there for fear that they would be found out. This is my problem with you guys, Enrique. You get together and just decide, you know who fucking sucks? These other people we don't like. How dare they get free medical care? Everyone should get free medical care. We have the resources to do it, extend it as a human right. And once again, because of their fear, they don't get to take advantage of it. This thing that you think is happening so much.
Yes, but I mean, these people are going to be the less educated ones.
And are they incapable of being educated? Are they incapable of being trained? How come so much of our labor force is an immigrant labor force if the fact that they are quote unquote less educated is such a problem?
Yeah, I know that they're less educated, but they're the ones taking so many jobs too.
What jobs are illegal citizens taking from Americans that Americans actually want to do? This is another one of those made up things.
Manufacturing and kitchen and construction.
Nope.
I mean,
legal immigrants. In fact, I just saw a Republican melting down on Facebook because he went to Home Depot to hire some unskilled labor, and it ended up going and approaching the guys, and they wanted like $30 to $40 an hour because they're actually licensed contractors. There's not illegal immigrants taking those jobs. There are legal immigrants and people on work visas. You are full of shit. And even the people who slip through the cracks and are working again on on a social security number of somebody else, they are working illegally. Again, they're actually contributing into our systems without taking benefits out. They are a net positive to those systems. It's wild. Americans don't want to pick strawberries. Immigrants are willing to do it.
Well, I'm not only talking about strawberries. I'm talking about like construction, like carpentry, like roofing.
Yeah.
I've met roofers who had to compete against illegal immigrants.
No, you haven't. You've met roofers who have said they have to because people bastardize these people. It's a bullshit narrative. It happens very, very little. And it's, again, a net benefit to our economy to have these people. But look, Enrique, I agree with you that the system as it is right now doesn't work. We need open border policy, Ellis Island policy. You get here, you get vetted. Hey, I don't even mind, since you're so worried about the kids, we'll do a little quick swab, make sure that the kids are actually related to each other, or if they're not, have them prove in some way that they have some connection to these people. Let them know something. If you're so worried about them, we can do shit like that. You have a vetting process. You make sure that they're not felons. And then we just go, welcome to America. It's yours too. Because immigration is amazing for America. It's what actually is one of the few things that makes America actually awesome. And it's why the Republicans are trying to take it away, because conservatism doesn't much mean conservatism of what is good about America. It's more conservatism about what any individual penis really wants to do on any given day.
Well, but conservatives are also about not wasting tax money.
Oh, that's not true. That's not true. Enrique, Donald Trump exploded the deficit. He spent more than Biden did. He spent more than Obama did.
COVID.
No, before COVID, he also gave a tax break to the rich people that exploded the deficit. And then he also, you people who want to say he's great on the economy, ignoring the how he exploded the deficit and also increased the cost of goods by adding tariffs, which, by the way, China doesn't pay, we pay. We pay tariffs, which means the prices on the goods go up also, and the supply goes down. Literally causes inflation. We pay tariffs. They don't pay the tariffs. If you buy stuff from China, some construction goods, you buy $1,000 worth of construction goods from China, you will pay the extra $250. And if your whole total budget was $1,000, you're essentially going to pay, it actually won't break to $750, $250 because that's not how that works. But it'd be like $800, $200 because obviously 25% of 800 is 200 and that adds up to 1,000. It wouldn't be, I assume everybody's following.
But wait, there's one thing that doesn't make sense about that.
Mm-hmm.
If Americans are paying,
right?
If it's passed down to the American consumer, then why did China? Why did they put tariffs in retaliation?
Because it causes us. Because once again, second day in a row, these people say things with such confidence when they don't understand the foundations of the things they're saying they believe. They did it in retaliation because if a person has $1,000 budget, you're now only buying $800 worth of inventory. And by upsetting the chain, you upset it in all types of fucking places. And so by doing it in return, it now becomes the same. We are now selling less of our goods and they're buying less because they now have to account for the tariffs. And this literally causes inflation.
No, that's gonna.
Yes, Enrique, you don't have to listen to me. Listen to any economist. There's not going to be an economist who disagrees with this. This is how it works. If you add a tax, especially, and by the way, now he's saying, and the new tariffs, they're going to be 50%, 100%. Some of them are going to be 200% tariffs. He's going to put 200% tariffs. And again, look it up, Enrique. If you don't believe me, look up. If there is a 25% tariff in America, who pays it? Does China pay it or does the American pay it? They covered it for a while by trying to do subsidies, and then those fucking things ran up too. The guy is so full of shit. His eyes are turning brown from the inside. And yet you guys are just like, shit, more in my mouth, daddy. Give it to me. Num, 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 num.
I'm learning something here. So
good.
Let's explain. So are you saying that those tariffs in the trade war, could that have caused the inflation in 2021 and 2022?
It definitely contributed to it. If you look at inflation across the board, America's inflation is better than anywhere else. But inflation still happened as a result of the war and the amount that it had to be combated by the Biden administration. But again, proof that the Biden administration was doing something right, that we are doing better than any of the rest of the Western world, including other right-wing countries. We're doing better than the rest of the developed world. When you take a look at that,
prices are still up.
Yes, no shit. Inflation is down to 3%. Actually, Enrique, let me ask you. If I told you that if Donald Trump wins, inflation will go to negative 5% and prices will, as a result of that, return to what they were, would you say that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I feel that's a trick question. But
go ahead and answer it.
Yes.
That'd be a good thing. Do you know what it means if you get into negative percent inflation? If you go into deflation, do you know what that's called?
Didn't you just say deflation?
It's called a recession. Negative inflation causes recession. That will mean that people are losing their jobs. Unemployment will skyrocket. And listen, you know what, Enrique? We finally agree on something. I also think Donald Trump might cause a recession. Just like you. I think so too. That's literally what a recession is, my friend. And you are sitting here going like, I hate inflation too. Now, the fact of the matter is most of the things that you are seeing as far as grocery prices and shit, that's actually not as much a matter of inflation as it is corporate greed. That is a matter of since COVID, prices going up and them going, why do we have to return it down? They're willing to pay $20 to get their old Chipotle order delivered to them, where we'll also make the burrito half the size. I see you, Chipotle, you fucking assholes. Anyway, we'll just keep everything up because what are they going to do? Not buy the eggs, not buy? Corporate greed is as far as grocery prices go. Overall inflation, you do not actually want to go into a negative. You do not want deflation. And yet, For some reason, nobody on the right understands that if we actually went into deflation, that would be at the cost of many people because we do not protect the working class when recessions happen. We continue to protect the rich people. We bail out the rich people. So even though we could take those same dollars and save 100,000 jobs, we won't. We'll save 2 or 3 billionaires instead of those 100,000 jobs because we live in a fucking dirtbag capitalist economy.
But let's go back to like the borders. I mean,
okay, I agree. You've lost on that, so let's see if you can try round 2 on immigration. Go ahead, back to the border.
So, yes, and the part where I was interrupting was, well, I see on television and on the websites of the news of these thousands and thousands of people coming in, and that's just gonna stress all our finances and take precious tax money away from American citizens.
No.
And
immigrants,
but doesn't that concern you, those thousands when they're pouring in?
Correct. It does not concern me. We could take millions because we will build more companies. Immigrants come and also start companies. They are the cornerstone of many communities, and I belong to a political party that cares about the working class, that cares about labor. You belong to the political party who cosplays caring about blue collar workers and people who actually like built this country and society, and then fucks them over time and time again and gives their money back to billionaires. Because keep in mind, every time somebody already rich gets a multi-million to billion-dollar incentive, that's going to them, increasing their security, even though they've already passed a lifetime's worth of security at the expense of everybody else. The moment you're going to sit here and go, don't you worry about the money we're going to give to poor people that might not deserve it, I'm not going to even begin to hear it until we talk about the money we're giving to rich people who definitely don't deserve it.
And you're saying all this, but it seems so many people are excited about the possible deportation of millions.
Yes, because they're horrible, racist people.
Don't you think that's a bit overplayed?
Nope.
I mean, here I am, a Latino who's been called racist myself.
Yep.
But they don't know. But how is that? I mean, so many people are just tired of being called racist.
Because here's the beautiful thing, Enrique. It's 2024. Latinos can be anything they want, including racist, just like you, buddy.
Oh.
Yes, you are participating in a system of white supremacy, whether or not you are yourself white and can benefit from it, just like motherfucking that governor from North Carolina, the lieutenant governor, Ron whatever, the chaser lieutenant governor, who talks about being a black Nazi and wanting to restore slavery so he can buy some people, not understanding that that's not how it would work if we restored slavery. Just like Candace Owens is capable of contributing to a system of white supremacy, you are supporting a system of racism and white supremacy.
But I've built a good life here.
Yes.
So many of my
both
Latinos and Americans are Republicans.
Yep. And I hope that they continue to improve on that political. I hope that people start to actually see the benefit of having an actual left. Because right now you're asking a lot of people to come to this country and go, okay, who are you going to choose? The Republicans or the Democrats? Now, here's the cool thing. They're barely different except on some social issues. And so that's going to be a lot of the lines, especially because so many people are coming over from countries that either they are. So, for example, we know that a lot of the Cuban population in Florida don't like the Democrats because they are associated with quote unquote socialism, and they associate Cuban government with socialism, and that it's easier to sort of sell them on what happened to Cuba will happen here, even though it's not the case. If we had an actual left to present to people, an actual left that values labor, that values the working people, I don't think I think it's amazing it's been taken this long and it's been this hard to present that to people, because once people have it, they're never going to want to go back. And you see that in other countries that are still capitalist but have much more social safety nets, much more programs, where even the Republicans will go, what if we take that money that we could have had over here and instead give it to our national healthcare system, even the right-wing people in those ones. But we don't have a real left to present them. So right now, a lot of Latinos are Republican because they don't mind the fact that very clearly the rest of the Republicans are racist, and because many of them are socially conservative.
But besides the social conservatism, leftist parties in Latin America have destroyed the countries. It's happened.
I already just addressed that.
You already know about Cuba and Argentina.
Boy, and how is it again that all happened? Was it America's interference and their absolute insistence to annihilate anything that even approached leftism and to make sure to conquer anything that threatened their status as pretending to be the greatest country in the world? I love when people bring these things up and they're just like, oh, leftism, just something called socialism. I feel like, Enrique, if we keep going, by the time this call's over, you're also going to go, well, and don't forget, Hitler was a national socialist. So that's socialism too. Not understanding the difference between any of these things, not understanding that authoritarian socialism doesn't make any fucking sense in the first place because authoritarianism is defiant of socialism, and that America is responsible for destabilizing many of these countries, and that many of them had some pretty great fucking things going on before we got our dirty little mitts in there. Anyway, last thoughts, Enrique. It's been 25 minutes. I can only take having to debunk every word that comes out of a person's mouth so long.
I can't believe how good you are at debunking everything, and
Thanks, buddy.
feel like so much of what I know is there's a lot of misinformation in what I've been told.
Yeah.
Because everything I've told to you I'm realizing is assumptions.
I deeply hope that, Enrique, it is impressed upon you that what matters most are the foundations of our beliefs. And I'm not a person who was raised as a leftist. I'm not a person who went, I'm an atheist leftist and no one's ever going to change me, and all the information I am ever going to intake is that which comports with that. I'm only going to confirm that bias. I'm a person who grew up in a very religious home, was very religious myself, and was very conservative. In fact, when I left religion first and then went from politically conservative to more libertarian. I finally went to a sort of liberalism, thought that capitalism was still going to be overall the best of the terrible situations, still bad, but the best of it, and then eventually radicalized into actual socialism. And that is a result of going at every step of the way, does what I believe have sufficient evidence to warrant that belief? And every time I challenged it, I ended up in a better place. And now I'm actually stuck in a place that I'm not budging from as much because there isn't a much place to go. Like, I'm not budging off of atheism and I'm not budging off of leftism because both of them comport with reality. But as soon as somebody can give me better evidence, they'll budge. They might move completely. All you have to do is match the pattern of my life so far. Give me better evidence and I will change my opinion. And I've proven my whole life that that is what I am willing to do and can do, despite the people who call it and just go, you just can't be wrong. Bitch, I've been wrong for breakfast. The fuck you talking about?
Honestly, the fact that you can talk is actually great, because a problem with what I see with leftists is that they explode with anger.
Oh, I do that sometimes.
No, you got passionate. But some get screeching, and a little thing that I admit, I have, illegal or undocumented or illegal, whatever you want to call them. I have them clean my house, and one is my handyman, and I love them very much. So.
Do your research. Think about their love. Think about how much you love them. Actually look in. Every time you think you know, take it a step further. Every time you're like, this is it. This is the information. Look up the debunk of that information. Go deeper and deeper. Truth has never been afraid of more information. Not once. All right, Enrique?
Okay.
Thanks for calling.
Bye.
God, that warms my cockles. I feel like I finally got through to somebody. It's just, oh my God, it's tough. It's tough you do this so often. And look, I've mentioned many times, many of the times we're doing these shows as a method of helping the people who are already in a state of movement. And so a lot of the conversations are for the audience more than they are for myself and the person I'm having it with. And yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. Oh man, these are going to be some fun calls. Y'all have no idea. Though some of you will now be able to detect my sarcasm. Let me just check and make sure that everything was okay with the friend who was trying to call. And we will jump to the next one. In just a moment. I know I'm being rude. I'm running solo tonight. This is because I want to. All right, we got Tyler in Maryland, who is an atheist. Tyler, you're on the line with Jimmy Snow. I'm okay. How are you? Okay, go for it. Oh, Tyler, hang on one second. I think we got to start over. I think we don't have your audio. One moment. Okay, here we go. Sorry, we're going to try it again. Tyler in Maryland, you're on the line. You want to talk about free speech. Go ahead. You're on the line with Jimmy Snow.
All right, can you hear me now?
I sure do.
All right, I'm so sorry about that.
That wasn't you. That was my fault.
So first and foremost, I am not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm just simply an independent voter. And the first time I ever voted was, I believe, back in 2012 with Barack Obama. And so for this election, I'm not necessarily going to vote for Kamala Harris, unfortunately, because
Kamala.
One issue that I'm really concerned about for the issue of Kamala Harris is the whole entire issue about free speech. And we can go into more details if you'd like.
Yeah, definitely. But her name is Kamala.
I'm sorry. It's sometimes words kind of, hard for me to pronounce, but I guess. All right. So one aspect that I'm really concerned about is that more recently, Mark Zuckerberg released a letter about the issue about what happened with Facebook. And I believe he mentioned in the letter that more or less he got pressure directly from the Biden administration to shut down some posts directly on Facebook because they perceive it to be misinformed or misinformation, I guess, on that particular site. And also, as early as 2022, there was also some sort of, I believe, disinformation thing that they also created, but it only lasted for a short period of time. And so I'm concerned if someone like her were to take power, that she might continue to shut down information she deems to be misinformation on social media sites.
Cool. I'm glad you brought that up. So you talked about a specific letter in which he was saying that the White House pressured them to basically, actually the way he put it was told that there was Russian misinformation and that things that were said to have been Russian misinformation eventually turned out to not actually be Russian misinformation. Correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And now they're in a situation where they're basically saying we're no longer going to listen to things like that and make the judgments ourselves. Correct?
Yes.
And so your concern is that if Kamala Harris, who was not the president, got in, that she would, force them to, even though they've said now they're not going to?
Yeah, I'm concerned because of another factor that I saw more recently in
just
an interview.
Just a correct or an incorrect would be fine for the moment.
Okay. Yeah, because basically another aspect I was concerned about is the vice president nomination.
Why are we moving on? I just wanted to hear if that was correct or incorrect.
Yeah, it's correct.
Okay,
Sorry.
Great. I'm just going to double check what the numbers on this was. Just a second here. During his term. Let me ask you this. Did Donald Trump ever use, for example, the FBI or anybody else to pressure social media sites to suppress information?
I know that in the past that Donald Trump said, not even just the past, but also the present, that he also stated that he wants to ban people to burn the American flag.
Cool. Let's go ahead and try that question again. Did Donald Trump pressure, we'll say Twitter and Facebook, did Donald Trump's White House, did their administration do anything different than what the Biden administration has done as far as saying, hey guys, just so you know, this stuff's coming through and we've flagged it as misinformation?
I mean, not to my knowledge.
Okay, because, and this is once again, Tyler, what the theme of the last couple of days has been, you all decide that there's a special thing. It's your little pet thing. And let's be honest, this isn't actually the reason why you're voting for Trump. Nobody votes for Trump because of this little pet thing when Trump is that obviously bad. I don't know whether it's that, Tyler, you actually are some sort of fascist fucking asshole or just are trying to fit in with a community of people. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely not this. And if these things actually mattered to you, you would go and research, because this has been true of social media and presidencies always. And by the way, some of the information that he was describing as suppressing was incorrect information, was lies that was being put out, because it wasn't actually just the Hunter laptop story, which, by the way, people want to say this was tremendously suppressed. And yet, from the moment it broke to now, I've never stopped hearing about it. So somehow it was suppressed, but every fucking person on the planet heard about it during the period of time where it was allegedly suppressed. But also, the COVID-19 information was the stuff that Mark was talking about, which already we know that the misinformation that was going out there was causing harm. And now you have a country where I think it's something like half of the people in this country are stupid enough to say that the COVID vaccines don't work, which is based on that misinformation. And so you have to ask yourself, when it comes to social media, I don't know what should or shouldn't be going up, but for the government to say, not threaten, but say this will be misinformation, and then them to say, great, what we'll do to misinformation is block it or we'll lower its rankings, which is, by the way, more what they were doing. They weren't actually blocking much. They were lowering the rankings, meaning that it didn't have as easy of a time taking off in the algorithm, which isn't actually enough. But that's what they were doing. And the fact of the matter is, you have that much misinformation going out, and it actually is fucking harming the country. And so I will say, freedom of speech. If you want to go out in any public space and say anything the fuck you want to say, I don't think you should be arrested for it with very few limitations. You know, you can't do a January 6th style thing. You can't call people to arms. You can't yell fire in a theater. But if you want to sit here and say that also extends into places like Twitter, also extends into places like Facebook, when right now even Twitter is being controlled by a person who wants to be part of the Trump administration and is basically trying to be a proxy president and showing tremendous bias, where he is on a whim through his personal feelings, blocking people he doesn't like, completely and deliberately fucking over people on supposedly the absolutist free speech platform. And Harris is the one you don't want to have, despite the fact that that's Trump's boy right now. The fact that Trump is basically saying he's just going to give him more and he might have some more administrative power, when this man, even if you like him, you have to acknowledge, has way too much leverage, has way too much power in the government. And should he become corrupt, which I believe he has, even if you don't, should he become corrupt in the future, could really fuck us, and no one man should have all that power. You're going to sit there and say, because she might also do what every other administration did, which is early on mark things as misinformation that may have later turned out not to be, like the Hunter laptop story, which, by the way, most of what people said was in the laptop was also false, but the existence of the laptop wasn't. Yeah, it's a little bit much. It's a little rich hearing from a Republican that they care about free speech, especially when they support the candidate who literally tried to nullify one of the most important forms of speech in this country, the vote, and tried to overturn an election because he's a whiny, weak little bitch. Please respond.
Okay. First and foremost, do you agree that blocking a person on Twitter is not the same thing as suppressing speech, though?
I like I said, I actually do agree. You're saying that the post, sir, Tyler, yes, I agree that that is a private company, and you're saying that you feel bad about what was happening at a private company, and that you're equating what was happening on Facebook as suppression of free speech. I'm saying I recognize they are private companies, and Elon actually has the right to do whatever he wants to do over there. But if he says it is a free speech town square, doing what he is doing, him not just blocking, deleting them from the platform, literally taking their platform away, is antithetical to what he is saying the mission is. But it is not literally anything that is a violation of free speech from a legal standpoint. It's just a violation of free speech when you invite people and say, here's the town square for your free speech, and then you get rid of the people you don't like.
All right. But getting back to the point about misinformation, because I know that, like, people like you and other kind of people like, Matt Dillahunty, you guys talk about how basically one thing about science is that it always readjusts. And so the information that we have right now is going to change probably in the next few years, weeks, whatever, because we get new data all the time. So how can you possibly trust a government entity to say, you know what, this is misinformation, this is right, this is wrong, when we can have, data that's constantly changing all the time?
Because they still represent the best shot we have for public good. And the things that people think were misinformation around COVID have not actually borne out. There are certain ways things were phrased and periods of times where we didn't know certain things for sure, and those things adjusted. You do have to wait for the experiments to end. But even where people will say like, well, they said that this would stop the spread because you wouldn't be infecting other people. Guess what? Breakout infections were actually less of a thing with the early strains of the virus. But because the virus had so many fucking options to mutate within, it became more of a thing. So even what they're trying to tell you was misinformation, or the misinformation about whether masks are effective. The misinformation about mask effectiveness was the kind of mask, not are they effective? They are. It's just that you need an N95 mask, and that just putting a bandana over your face while preventing some is not likely to actually prevent infection, especially if you are in an area of high contaminant. So even what people are trying to say was wrong about COVID, it was more like was waiting to find out the most accurate information, and the precautions we took early on were still worth it because yes, it looked dumb to wash your groceries, wipe all of your groceries down, but until we knew whether or not how it could spread on surfaces, it was worth taking the risk of looking a little silly to try and save people's lives.
All right, I think I'm done with the call, but thank you so much for taking my answer.
I'd love to hear you just share one piece of COVID misinformation that you feel like was a betrayal by the government.
I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to keep that to myself.
Sure. I think you have revealed that exactly what I said earlier was true, that you are not voting for Trump because you are worried about a freedom of speech thing with Harris. It is that you are actually a member of his cult of misinformation and conspiracies, hook, line, and sinker. Tyler, did we go to the moon?
No. I'm not part of MAGA. I'm not part of any sort of party. Like,
do you think we went to the moon?
I'm an independent. I'm not Republican.
Do you think we went to the moon?
Of course we did.
Do you actually believe that? You're laughing like you don't actually believe that.
Yeah, I do believe we went to the moon.
Thank goodness.
Should I not believe that?
Thank goodness. Well, because you sound like you listen to a lot of Joe Rogan, and he doesn't believe we went to the moon.
No. I mean, I guess sometimes, but not all the time. Just occasionally.
That's exactly what smokers who smoke 12 packs a day say. But have a good one. We'll see you later, Tyler.
All right. Take care, man.
If I accidentally called Tyler Enrique at some point during that call, my bad. I don't know if I did or not, but when I just saw his name in the thing again, I was like, shit, I think I forgot that was his name. Let's see. 720-619-2288, 720-619-2288. If you have a good reason for voting for Donald Trump, if you have a good reason for voting for Donald Trump, now is the time to call. Now is the time to go. Let's talk to Tudor. Is it Tudor? Tudor? How do I say your name from the Netherlands? Tudor? Hello? Tudor? Tador? Caller from the Netherlands.
Wait, yeah, my microphone was off. Can you hear me?
I hear you now. How are you? Let's start it over so
Yeah.
the clip has a good natural starting point. Tudor from the Netherlands. You're on the line with Jimmy Snow.
Yeah, hello, Jimmy.
Hi.
Good to be on the line. Anyway, yeah, I'm not actually Dutch. I just live in the Netherlands for like university and stuff. But yeah.
Cool.
So my question is probably pretty self-explanatory. I'm wondering on what's your opinion on why MAGA and Trumpism or Trump-related things are spreading so much outside of the U.S. Like I personally know people who are like extreme QAnoners who are not related to the U.S. in any way, like maybe have a distant relative living there and nothing much else. So what is your opinion on why it's spreading so much?
Because stupidity is a characteristic of humans, not just Americans. And as the world has gotten smaller because travel has become more accessible, we are blending cultures more. And unfortunately, there is a resistance to that, both with classes who don't want to mix with other classes and races who don't want to mix with other races. Conspiracies don't have to be limited to just the language they originated in anymore. They don't take forever to make it to different cultures. Everything's available instantly, and people are forming communities around this shit.
I see. So in short, just people being more connected, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
And people are somewhat addicted, it would seem, to othering, to cult-like behavior. In some cases, magical thinking. Religion certainly isn't helping with all of this. And people experience a level of hostility to a new information age that so easily debunks things like Christianity, like Islam. So they have to retreat into other methods of thinking than actually engaging information and assessing it for what it's actually worth. They have to switch to those other lesser forms of thinking, shall we say, magical thinking. And that also spreads the other bullshit within those groups, because nobody in a cult ever was in just one cult. People in cults always figure out, like in Mormons love doTERRA, right? And that's just another cult. That's MLMs in general. Mormons are crazy about them. And now you have Mormon MAGAs, which are crazy, or I just don't even, he completely is incompatible with what their values allegedly are, but doesn't matter. That's how I would describe. That's how I would respond to your question.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. So I have a friend as an example, adding on to the conversation, who is like a lot of the time is very much, oh yeah, I would vote for Trump if I was American. Like it's not. Giving reasons, just like the previous caller, oh yeah, it's because the other side is not, and giving like very particular reasons.
Yeah, let's be clear. The reason why Kamala Harris isn't absolutely beating the shit out of Trump right now is because America is still sexist and racist. Like, it shouldn't be this close. Biden, at least there was some legitimacy to people being like, I don't feel comfortable electing a sickly old man. I would have still voted for Biden over Trump, but that was what we were stuck with. A person who was appearing to be on death's door, and another person who seems to be able to hide how close to death he is also at the same time. Better anyway. It should not be as close as it is. I hope we find out on election day that it isn't as close as it looks like it is, because the fact that it isn't much more significantly different is either latent or in often cases just blatant sexism and racism.
Yeah, I do actually agree with that. So the reason why I'm calling is obviously it's not just MAGA spreading outside of the U.S., because I'm also calling, I'm from complete opposite side of the spectrum to that, and I'm not from the U.S. and I'm still interested in U.S. politics, but I'm coming more from the side of I'm interested in politics in general, and U.S. politics is still politics. So, yeah. So, do you think there's like any difference between, how I got to like now calling into the show and other people from outside the U.S. being interested in on the other side of the spectrum? on the side of MAGA or MAGA adjacent things.
I don't know if sorry, what is the question?
Sorry, the question is, do you think there's a difference between people on the left outside the US being interested in US politics and people on the right outside of the US being interested in US politics? That's the question, short form.
Is there a difference between people who are interested in US politics
and how they get started in being interested, how they get pulled into the circle?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I know that you see it spreading to the countries that are most like us first. And you saw the Brexit thing radicalize a lot of people to the right who are just looking for lots of reasons to say, I don't like all of these Arab people in my society. So let me figure out how to wrap that up into a more economic sounding bow. And then you see it just to spread from there. I think it spreads like cancer. At first it seems slow and then it speeds up and then the world dies. But hopefully we're about to give it some real intense chemo.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks, Tudor.
Well, that pretty much covers all of the questions I have. Thank you for taking my call. And yes, for your sake, I do hope that Kamala wins the election. So, yeah.
Cool. All right.
But anyway,
thanks, Tudor.
Thank you for taking my call. Goodbye.
Bye. She doesn't know who I am. That song stuck in my head. And she doesn't give a damn about me. Wild take that we're about to get from Daniel in Singapore. Daniel, you are on the line.
Mormon. You're polygamous Mormon.
Daniel, who cares? Okay. You're right. I am. I know. Why? You know no one can hear you, right? I'm waiting for the thing. Like, what is going to be the thing that there's a person who keeps calling in, and this is their life. This is all the life they have. Their life is that they are a lonely person. They give me pedophile vibes. So this pedophile keeps calling in and then just yells things into the mic. And today it was, you're a polygamous Mormon. When he was repeating it, to tell you the truth, I'd have had the argument with him, but sure. Okay. I'm technically a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That is still true. I am technically still a Mormon. I don't believe in Mormonism. I don't believe in God. I've never been married, and polygamy would require multiple marriages, but I am polyamorous. I at any given time, I don't really restrict myself to a singular partner, though that might change in the future. I wouldn't say singular partner, but I would say I'm maybe headed with a bit of a hierarchical polyamory thing, because I don't know, might have met somebody special. Anyway, it's none of anybody's business, but just throwing that out. So I don't actually really have any opposition to what he was saying. Now, what you missed was you're a polygamous Mormon, and then he just said that like 6 more times. And then said, it's disgusting. Okay. Anyway, just a lonely person who clearly is not able to have consensual sex with adults and outlets that by just getting on the line and saying weird shit. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Not sure why you would. Not sure what the appeal is, but here we go. Kenny in Tennessee, you're on the line with Jimmy Snow. How are you? Am I a polygamous Mormon? Kenny in Tennessee, can you hear me? There.
Jimmy.
Hello.
Hello, Jimmy.
Hi there. How are you, Kenny?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm just fine. I was so excited for that.
You've been giving a good fight.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I've got a comment to blow your mind away.
All right, let's have it.
I think that Trump should be elected, even though I despise him, because I despise the United States of America, which is no longer united, but totally divided.
Okay.
So why not reelect a guy who will finish the job and finish our country off, and we can turn back to 50 independent countries with some kind of compact for mutual defense, but otherwise each their own currency, border checks, state-wise passports. Let's just break up. Since we're not getting along, let's just break up and go date other people.
Yeah, because
the quickest way to get there is to elect Trump.
No, the option you just described is not on the table. What you just described is not a real thing that could happen. If Donald Trump wins, he will further solidify federal power, and he will make his position more powerful. He will change who gets appointed by the president or not, and he will have a stronger hold on many more states and the ability to fraudulently win elections through these alternate slates of electors, more voter suppression and the like, as well as further making the Supreme Court go right wing. The reason why it will never happen is because if the right wing states, first of all, it would never be 50 countries. There's no version of any secession where that's anything that could happen. But if you got to the point,
clusters of states, though.
If you got to the point where California was like, all right, we're going to go off and be our own country, it would then be a war. People would die. Because you know who doesn't want California to go and be its own country, or New York to be its own country? Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, your state, Florida. And do you know why that is? Because they
take more than they give.
They are states of welfare. These Republican states that are voting against.
They take more from the government than they give.
And they will demand that you keep taking care of them at the end of a gun. What you are advocating for, if you could even get close to it, is a civil war where lots of people would die. But the fact of the matter is that's not even going to happen. It will just make the country a worse off, more authoritarian state. The parts of this country that we look at our pride centers will continue to move away from this country, and you will not have the thing you're describing at all. Right now, we are more than ever headed in the direction of true leftism and actually having an actual leftist party, because more people are associating with it than ever before. And the political influence of leftism has been able to push this current president and the current presidential candidate in some directions on some issues. That is not enough. It's not even good, but it's better than the alternative. And if you just look at that pace of expansion and the disillusionment people are having with this idea that socialism is just a bad word and that it makes any sense to just interchangeably use liberal, socialist, and communist without skipping so much as a beat, it is so crazy to me that we actually have a lot of reason to be hopeful, even amongst these death throes. And yet people are going. It's like you went over to an animal and went, and it's literally dying. It goes through its death throes, seems more violent than ever, but you know it's dying. And you're just going to sit there and go like, well, now that I'm going to stop fighting this animal that was trying to kill me, and I guess I'll just let myself die or my friends die because now it's going through this, even though it may almost be over. Now is not the time to back off and let the whole system burn down. Now's the time to double down and start showing people, because as we have been, people are seeing. Watch last night's episode. I think there were two different individuals who I got them to agree with what my policy positions were before I revealed to them they were socialism, and they thought they were MAGA Republicans, and yet they actually favor socialism.
Yeah. I'm not shocked. They don't know what they believe.
I'm saying, man, fucking look at these cynical Gen Alpha, Gen Z people. You think they're going to do Republican, like GOP shit? Let's let some people get older. Let's let some people die off, and let's keep making the progress we're having. These two generations coming up are cynical bastards, and I'm here for it. I kind of love it.
Well, I've had a lot of dealings with that generation in my recent life, and I can tell you that they would more likely vote for Jill Stein than anybody else.
Nah, they're starting to, I think, become disillusioned with that too. But unfortunately, we're not going to be
I don't know.
Just like every election before, we're not going to rely on the youngest people. We're not going to rely on the youngest people to win this, even though they did come out in higher numbers than the generations prior, but still in really shitty numbers. Yeah. Well, I give them half props. You did what every other generation did before you, which is outvote your previous generation from a young age. And so you did that, but it wasn't incredible. But I'll give them the credit. I'll give them the credit for being there a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you think my idea would lead to civil war, but what you described,
I'm certain it would.
To me, is also instant civil war.
No, sir. It's already happening. The move is already happening. We're just being resisted by the death throes of fascism. Tell me how it's already happening. People are already meeting their neighbors. People are already realizing. It's just like, you can look at any specific issue. Let's look at gay people. 10 years ago, 10 years ago is when gay people started to be able to get married in this country. But even most people on the right have changed their mind on it because they've been exposed more to gay people. And again, with these leftist positions, people are finally starting to realize that socialist as a pejorative doesn't make any sense, because they're starting to realize, like, so wait, what you're trying to say is that if we put labor first, workers first, that's a bad thing? But also we're seeing the close-in of capitalism. Capitalism cannot survive probably the century when we have such advancement and innovation coming to where we are literally building our own species replacement. The replacement theory all these fucking idiots were worried about was wrong. It's not the Jews coming for us, it's the AI. And
it's still replacement, but they just had the wrong evil agent.
Sure. I don't necessarily think AI is evil. We have the potential for it's legitimately.
Oh, you can make it evil.
Sure, you definitely can. AI can save us or destroy us, and it's probably the case that anything sufficient to save us is also capable of destroying us.
I would agree, yes.
Yep. Anything else, Kenny?
Well, I don't know if you've made me less or more optimistic.
I do the same thing myself.
I would like to congratulate you on running a tight show and knowing your facts.
Appreciate it. People I've noticed been kind of surprised as I've been doing these political shows, because they're like, Jimmy's mediocre at the atheist stuff, but did he read a book? Ah, come on.
I see you on the atheist show all the time.
This
is my first time seeing you on a political show, but what you're saying is logical and it makes sense.
Thanks, man.
I'm not saying that I agree it's going to happen, but it is a reasonable possibility.
I hope
at this point, there's a lot of possibilities, and most of them are bad.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if most are bad as far as what possibilities are, but I'm not sitting here and saying we're definitely going to win. But it seems tough to me to see how technology and science is evolving, and that the people who are so anti-science aren't going to want to have access to it. Because even these fuckers who are anti-climate change are also counting on scientists to save them from climate change. So anyway, we're going to move on here, Kenny. I do appreciate you, though.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Kenny.
Bye-bye.
I can only handle the nice people for so long. Unfortunately, that is true. That is true. I'm confused on what this one is meant to be, but let's go ahead and take a look here, get my name tags updated. Justin in New Jersey. My notes, I'm a little bit confused which side of the issue you're on, so I don't know if I'm walking into the lion's den or into a friend's living room. What's on your mind, Justin?
Well, let me put this to rest. I love you, Jimmy. You're great. It's not the lion's den.
All right, good enough. I wish you had higher standards, though. Anyway, go ahead.
You're my second favorite atheist on the line.
And the first one is Forrest?
How did you know?
Because it's everyone's favorite.
He and I are kind of doppelgangers. I've noticed he has the same ADHD quirks I do. So
he's a good guy.
Anyways, I don't know. I've heard you, like, in the last couple of weeks, you run into people that try to argue against Project 2025 from the Trump side, saying, "Oh, he doesn't know about it, he won't do it." And you always bring up the Supreme Court justices, but I feel like while that's a good point, I would think that it would be a stronger point to bring up the fact that they brag that his administration implemented over 2/3 of their policy recommendations. So
yeah,
they're basically putting it out there as going to say, "Look, that's us. Trump's going to do our thing."
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. I mean, people were getting on to me yesterday because technically the more nuanced version would be the Heritage Foundation provided and helped build the list with the Federalist Society for the Brett Kavanaugh, the list that Brett Kavanaugh was on, then specifically lobbied for Amy Coney Barrett and successfully got that through also the Federalist Society. And then with Gorsuch, there isn't as much of a paper trail, but one would presume it was the same process. Anyway, I agree with you, though, that as far as the Heritage Foundation's agenda, he did, I'll have to double check this 2/3 number, but did a significant amount of the agenda. Number, and why wouldn't they do it again?
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I forgot about the delay. The 2/3 number is actually from their website. They brag about it.
That's cool. So. Yeah, I'll find it.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
All right. I'm sorry I wasn't adversarial with you. I know you wanted a better target. Sorry.
What do you think the best fruit is?
Lemons.
Well, you're fucking wrong. The best fruit is me. All right. See you, bud.
That's a good one. I love it. Take care, Jimmy.
Oh, my goodness. My goodness. Wait a second. Is D ranking atheists and I wasn't at the top? What the fuck? You're in trouble, young lady. I am not talking to you. We're fighting. We are fighting. You and I. Holy shit. That's D from the Stacy's Mom's podcast, famously known as Stacy's Mom. She's got it going on. Let me get these name tags in here. Stacy's Mom has got it going on. Ba-doodle-ba-ba-da-bo. All right. John in Ohio, you are on the line with Jimmy Snow. How are you, John?
On a drive to DC right now. I'm eating a couple of baked tilapia on my lap.
Are you in the car, though? Are you actively driving a car?
No, I'm parked at a gas station.
All right, good.
Yeah. No, I can't eat tilapia and drive. That's a little difficult. But yeah, so my question is, I joined up listening to you guys talking about the COVID stuff, and I feel like I could name a lot of more things that are more severe than that. And I think starting with the fact that 98 or 99, or I think it's 98.9 or 98.9, it's pretty much 100% of people who died or were hospitalized from COVID had a vitamin D deficiency. And I know you also have lower vitamin D deficiency, or more vitamin D deficient when you're sick. But you also don't have an immune system when you don't have vitamin D. And I have family members who are dark skinned, who are living in Ohio, who are inside for months because they were told not to be. And then once they got COVID, they just didn't get better because they stayed inside and didn't have an immune system. And one of them died. And I feel like, when everyone's concerned about differential rates among people with different skin colors, the amount of vitamin D you naturally produce is actually a function of your skin color. The lighter your skin tone, the more vitamin D your body naturally makes. And they didn't say that because they were more concerned about people staying inside in their musty houses. And further, when you talk about the lockdowns, people also have a weaker immune system if they're stressed out and unemployed, or if they're just eating garbage, which is the number one risk factor from dying of COVID, is eating junk, basically being obese. And so totally, people were just fucked over by that. And I know you could say that, well, that was the Trump administration, but we can say that's a little more complicated, as far as everyone was making the most politically easiest decision, it seemed like, you know what I mean? And so Trump moved it down to the states. I can't make the call. It's too big. Was kind of inching to be we should open up. And every time you'd say that, a bunch of left-wing media in particular would lambast him and then shit talk him for a while. Then medical experts would say you're killing people, and then his polls would go down. And so he'd be okay, fine. Well, I don't, Florida, you're opening too soon. So I know he said that, which is ridiculous, which is one of the problems with Trump, is that, he did just kind of rely on a team of people he surrounded himself with. But yeah, no, but even on top of that, he suggested many things, like the hydroxychloroquine, zinc, and what else, mix that actually is a very good prophylactic. And yeah, you know what I mean? I just feel very annoyed.
Cool. You ready? Are you ready yet? Because that was a lot.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
All right, John. What percentage of African Americans outside of dying from COVID have a vitamin D deficiency?
A very large percentage.
Yes, 82%. What percentage of Hispanic adults?
Going to be less than black folk, but high.
Yeah, it's 70%. What percentage of Americans overall?
I don't know, 50?
42%. What are the main things that cause a vitamin D deficiency?
Lack of sunlight and diet.
No, yeah, it's actually diet more than the sunlight. Now, listen, and obesity, hypertension, these things cause all of that. You also should consume dairy products or their equivalent as well to help with your vitamin D deficiency. The fact of the matter is most Americans, most non-white Americans have a vitamin D deficiency, and nearly half of Americans overall do. So the question becomes, when you're describing a high percentage of people, which I already looked, and it isn't true that the percentage is significantly higher. I'm looking at studies though, and it looks like there may be a slight higher. It wasn't 99 to 100%. But that vitamin D deficiencies were present. However, whether or not the vitamin D deficiency is what was the leading factor of why they died, when in fact, again, obesity is highly correlated to a vitamin D deficiency, we don't know. Telling people to quote unquote stay inside was also a very temporary guideline. Before, as far as lockdowns go, lockdowns were no businesses indoors packed in together. And by the time we got to late spring to summer, we had outdoor activities. You could do outdoor seating at restaurants. But it was, don't be in a closed in space with people. In fact, I recall it only being a few weeks where you wouldn't even drive to parks and stuff. And then people were going, okay, here is what is safe as long as you are outside. And in fact, outside might be the safest place. Your access to sunlight was not reduced. However, I totally hear that even if it wasn't literally reduced, the having to stay home so much, you may have entered more of a state of depression or laziness and just not gone out as much. I hear that, and that's true enough. But as far as whether or not, once we get past all of that and the fact that the things that you're describing aren't as straightforward and that causation is not as demonstrated as you seem to think it is in this scenario, we then have to get to what was the alternative. And we already know we did a botched job when it comes to all of this. Now, I will make a correction. I've said in the past, I, for some reason, kept giving the national death numbers from that period of time to just Florida. More than 1 million people have died of COVID. It's not all in Florida. It's about 100,000 people in Florida, boomers who have died of COVID. And their numbers were higher than others because it was also old people and old fat people, obesity, people who were having issues. Maybe I used to make fat jokes because of how big I was, but now that I've lost so much weight, maybe I'm not allowed to anymore. But anyway, the fact of the matter is yes, all of that is bad, and we know that now. We know things about that now. And if we were to go back and do things differently, hindsight is 2020. The claim that you were making about hydroxychloroquine as being an adequate prophylactic, when in fact studies have shown that you are at an increased chance of dying because the dangers and side effects of it are not actually worth using it as a prophylactic, and we don't have good demonstrative evidence that it actually does prevent COVID.
People running that study are now being sued for murder. Basically, that was done in Brazil, and they gave
great.
People
Let me know when that succeeds. Let me know when that succeeds.
No, I mean, it's like
we're talking about, by the way, we're not talking about one study. Hydroxychloroquine has been studied across the world and across the board and is shown to be an insufficient preventative measure and certainly treatment measure, and that you actually can get sicker or do lasting damage from it. What?
So, there was one study.
There were many more than one.
Okay. I'm not going to argue about hydroxychloroquine. It's I feel like it's ridiculous that we are, because I feel like that's been very well proven
and
at this point.
To suggest that it was also a point,
hydroxychloroquine works together.
Even if you agreed with him on it, you're sitting here going, and by the way, let's say he was right. He wasn't, but let's say he was right. You're celebrating that the broken clock got the time right twice in the day, because it's still the same guy who said bleach and sunlight in the body.
I mean, he didn't say that.
Yes, he did.
He was recommending hydroxychloroquine, zinc.
Incorrect, sir. He absolutely said, he absolutely suggested using bleach and sunlight in the body. It's almost a cleaning in the body. He absolutely did suggest that at a press conference.
I watched it live, and I remember laughing because I knew exactly what he was thinking while we were watching it. But they basically proved that people came forward and they said, we found out that like bleach wipes and like your standard antiseptic wipes and UV light are all like 99% effective at killing it. And he looked over at the doctors and said, like, this is good news. Perhaps we can look into using these things to, you know, clean the body
inside the body, so almost a cleaning. I don't know what you're sitting here.
Was talked about in there.
You're sitting here. I said UV light, bleach and UV light inside the body. Do you know what would happen if you put UV light inside your body?
No, actually.
It would annihilate your DNA. It would break apart. You would either die or develop cancers.
Okay. But no, anyways, he was literally doing a daily, what is it called, daily show, but he was like talking.
Yes, and every day he would say more and more stupid stuff.
That's like the one thing people point to, and it's like, I get it, it's ridiculous, but like.
No, this is the example of you trying to be excited for a thing that hasn't been proven, but like, you know, they gave him shit even though he was right about this and he wasn't. That hasn't been shown that he was right. Okay. But if we gave you the benefit of the doubt that he was, this was a guy who was throwing all the shit he could at the wall, and anything that stuck, people were like, you know, he's practically a doctor, which was one of the things he said. He literally up there saying like, you know, these doctors, they're saying, wow, you understand this sometimes better than the other doctors do. We're very impressed with, wow, we're not used to people getting it because I've just this great brain. The guy is such an obvious con man with below average intelligence. And John, no. You don't sound like you're below average intelligence. Like, stop eating up this cult leader's cult shit, man.
I'm not like a Trump sycophant. I just think it's like ridiculous. Like, okay, what else did he say that wasn't true during COVID?
Specifically about COVID?
Sure, it can be more vague than that, but I was more specifically talking about remedies that were not legitimate. Because you gave one example,
brother.
He was more asking as a question.
No, he wasn't. He was absolutely saying, and he was trying to. He was literally trying. He was suggesting that he was coming up with this great idea on the spot, acting like, and this is what he refers to.
You're telling me you haven't seen it?
I have absolutely seen it multiple times, John. You're full of shit right now. I've seen it multiple times, and I know what the man is like, and I watch his rallies, almost all of them, John, and I know the way he likes to claim tacitly that he was the person behind everything. The guy actually likes to speak as though he invented the vaccine. So let's talk about his biggest lie when it comes to COVID, that we were going to get this vaccine quickly and distribute it far and wide. What happened when Biden got into office? What distribution plan did they find for the vaccine that was ready to go? What distribution plan did they find?
I don't know, actually.
Yeah, this is once again people speaking very confidently about those foundations, which they don't know.
Because they forced me to get a booster.
Okay, good. You should get a booster. You should get another booster. I hope they actually come into your house and put it in your throat. Everyone get a
nonsense
booster.
Because they're still vaccinating a mix between Omicron and original COVID, which is not what's circulating. That'd make me more vulnerable.
Sir, they're literally, as of this month, the most recent strains are in the new vaccine, and now you can get a hybrid that also gets you the flu at the same time. Excuse me?
That they don't update the strains anymore. They stopped that.
They literally just updated the strains. I watched them do the news conference not 3 weeks ago where they were saying to people who are asking, should I get it now? If you are at low chance of exposure, if you wait 4 weeks, the updated vaccine will cover it. Literally, the new vaccine with the new strain coverage is going out right now. Okay, the biggest lie was that we are going to get this to everybody fast. He was in office. The vaccine was ready to go before he left office. Biden took over. They went, hey, let's see the distribution plan. They were handed an empty notebook. They did not develop a distribution plan. So Biden very quickly developed one, very quickly released stores to specifically governors, mostly in blue states, who had already suspected this was the issue. And basically, as soon as they got their store, they were able to do their initial distributions. And then the rest of us were able to get it. Vaccines went into his arm very quickly, and he got the best experimental care. and got to be saved by, I think it was a remdesivir, I think was what they used on him. And now we have these other things like the therapies that are now better and got out faster. And we had more money to get those into place because of the Biden administration. Literally the vaccine, which unfortunately people are so wrong about, hopefully you're not, is one of the greatest scientific marvels of the modern world. And the therapies as well, and those got to everybody because of Biden, not Trump.
Okay. Yeah, no, dude. I mean, I got the initial vaccines, like thinking it was going to be a good idea.
It was a good idea.
I'm glad I didn't get the boosters anymore, honestly.
You should keep getting the boosters.
Yeah, the data on that's not good.
You definitely should keep getting the boosters.
That's absolutely insane, dude.
You should definitely keep getting the boosters. You should protect yourself and other people. And get the boosters.
If you're, I mean, like there's like still the death rate of COVID is going lower and lower every day.
Yep.
And I don't even mean like continuing now. I mean, like from in the past.
Yep. You should get your flu shot too. You should get your flu shot as well, and the flu has an even lower death rate than that because long COVID still is a thing.
I don't think
you get more ubiquitous strain coverage, and it is not worth getting. It'll also shorten the period of time that you have it and are infectious. You absolutely should keep getting it. The benefits way, way outweigh the risk. You should definitely keep getting it.
I really don't get sick that often.
It's not about just you. Are you going to address the biggest lie? Are we just skipping the biggest lie because that one was tough? Because I did present it to you. Is that one tough?
Wait, what'd you say?
Are you going to respond to the fact that I gave you the biggest lie? I can list others, but I literally gave you his biggest COVID lie.
So you're saying the biggest COVID lie was the fact that he didn't have a plan to roll
He
out
said he had a distribution plan, and much like his replacement to the ACA, he did not.
I mean, I personally never have heard him talk to you about rolling out the vaccine. In fact, more and more. I mean,
I'm positive you haven't heard many of the things. I'm positive you live in a sort of confirmation bias style world where you don't hear lots of stuff. Because he absolutely talked about, in fact, he was using another lie when he was talking about it and amping up the vaccination to come out. He started saying this back in, it would have been right before I got it. So it would have been February of 2020. He started talking about, it's going to go away one day, like magic, it's going to go away. And then when it didn't go away and everything went to shit, he started using that exact same language as they're describing that they've got this vaccine, they're going to distribute it, he's going to get it. And he got it many weeks before everybody else did, despite the fact that they could have distributed it earlier. If no other time, even if you want to say, well, that would have been crazy for everything logistically, in the months between him losing the election and leaving, he basically did nothing because he felt he owed the country nothing. Did nothing to develop that plan. And they literally come into office on day one and go, we have the vaccines, but we don't have a distribution plan. The fuck is wrong with us? That was their thing to do.
I honestly, I mean, I don't know. I don't remember him ever claiming that he had a vaccine distribution plan. Like I said, I just remember him talking about that he made the vaccine. I honestly like the idea that the states would be the ones handling that. We're going to give you the vaccine and you guys roll it out. I don't like the plan that they end up coming out with because it ended up prioritizing equity, like ostensibly to the deaths of people. Because basically they said, well, too many old people are white because white people live longer for complicated reasons. And because of that, we have to give it to frontline workers who are more disproportionately younger and are less likely to die. But that's how we equal out the amount.
John, I bet you are so good at quarterbacking the day after. The logic between frontline workers was literally that these people, the justification for frontline workers was none of the bullshit you just made up where you're trying to turn it into a eugenics thing, because there were states that didn't handle it as poorly as Florida and their old people didn't die in such massive amounts. Guess what? They weren't red ones.
It's not a eugenics thing. I didn't say anything about eugenics.
You're describing the actual reason they gave it to frontline workers is that at the time it made sense that if you hit the people who are the most likely to pick it up and spread it because they are seeing the most people, you'd be able to take the biggest chunk out. And by the way, that played out. That ended up being correct, but it is sad that at the time we had to distribute, we had to pick who to distribute in waves. It would have been much better if we could have given it to everybody on the first day. They used that justification for it. It was none of the bullshit you were talking about. And that actually did play out. We started to see massive reductions quickly.
I mean, I'd say, first of all, the mass reduction thing is, I'm not sure about that. But secondly, I would say that, like,
if you have a nursing home full of old people and 5 people work there, and those 5 people are people who are younger and have a social life, and so they go out and they do stuff and potentially get exposed to it, and you have a nursing home of 30 people and they're handled by these 5. Do you vaccinate, if you've got 5 vaccines, do you vaccinate 5 people in the home who live there, or the 5 people who are going out and coming back? That's literally the logic behind it, because they would be the most likely people to infect that nursing home.
I would say a couple things. First of all, I mean, my understanding is that the data, I mean, it's worse than, my understanding is, like, the data is that it's worse than just saying it doesn't affect transmission, for one. But, like, even, like, for my own anecdotal experience, right after I got vaccinated, like a month or so after, I visited my whole family, and one of them, I mean, the anecdote lines up with the data, so it's I feel like it's fine to tell. But I gave it to my 85-year-old.
You haven't established that it lines up with the data. You just said that you think that that's what the data says. And so far, we've shown that you don't know what the data says.
I know it doesn't affect transmission. I was saying I think it actually might be worse, because it might have actually, for one, it might have actually created Omicron. And, like, if you've already
think the vaccines created Omicron?
Yeah, no, that's why it was vaccine.
Okay, John, you are a conspiracy theorist. We're at 20 minutes now. Give your last minute of conspiracy.
This is evolution.
You are Omicron had plenty of chances to mutate in large populations of people who were allowing the viral loads to go absolutely fucking bonkers. Because the fact of the matter is, if you were vaccinated, your viral load would be smaller and your incubation period would be shorter. So odds are, by some many millions to 1, that the mutations would have happened in the unvaccinated population more likely than the vaccinated. I'll give you 30 more seconds to spread whatever conspiracy you want, and then we're moving on.
That's not how evolution works. Like, if you create a situation, if you're spitting billions, all it takes is one person to make the new vaccine resistant variant. Like, that's just the way it works. You know what I mean? It's like, it's almost like the idea where you take.
John, you're literally saying the opposite of what is correct. The unvaccinated, the people who are vaccinated, the people who are vaccinated would have less opportunities to mutate. The people who are unvaccinated would have much larger viral loads, and those viral loads would go to people who are vaccinated and have the chance to fight against the vaccine. It wouldn't be the other way around. Jesus Christ.
Okay, well, people who understand evolution will understand what I'm saying.
Oh, people, John, you have shown you don't understand evolution, because I just corrected you. I just corrected you, you moron. Goodbye, buddy. That was so dumb. People who actually understand evolution, I just fixed it for you. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh my God. We'll go to this. Probably cap calls there, but we've got more calls left still. D in Ohio, you're on the line with Jimmy Snow.
Hey, Jimmy.
What up?
What's happening? I called you before, long ago. This time, life's been busy. I've been trying to call again, but I actually kind of pissed off because I didn't see that you were on your actual channel that you were making like some political podcasts that I've been having to catch up on. So
tight.
Yeah. So I kind of pissed off about that, but life's been busy. But anyway,
it happens.
So what I was getting to is like, all right, it's late in the election, whatever, right? So whoever's going to vote for who is pretty much set, but there is still those lingering people. Now, given that I'll put this disclaimer out. I live in Ohio. No one's eating cats and dogs, by the way. Just saying. But where I work at is very diverse, you know. But there's still a lot of Trump supporters, you know, of all different, you know, walks of life. You got your country white boys to your hood, you know, hood guys, hood gangster guys. But you can tell which ones are like leaning, who are still like kind of don't have enough information. They're just going with Trump because he gives them that, you know, we all know politics is about vibes nowadays, you know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, the point I'm getting to is the best ways to deal with a Trump supporter, all right? And I do this every day because I soak in so much political information like a heroin addict. But the best way is to match their immaturity with, I'll say, clever immaturity. An example of that is, like, instead of, you get tired of trying to explain the very obvious to a Trump supporter. Like, dude, it's literally in your face. How the fuck are you not seeing it? Like, Trump said, like, say Trump said this, and then you just literally show them the video. Like, oh, no, let's make excuse, whatever, fuck it. No, I found a way. I'll just walk in whatever crazy shit he has said that day before, because every day he's been saying crazy shit. Just walk in and just annoy the fuck out of him with just a Trump quote, plain and simple. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been doing that for the past few months, and some people I've kind of got them to start paying attention more into politics and some of them were like, yeah, this motherfucker's crazy. Like months ago, they was like, yeah, I'm voting for Trump. Someone was like, yeah, I ain't gonna lie, man, this dude kind of crazy with the cats and dogs. Where I was like, but like I said, I don't explain things anymore. I just walk in to work, whatever quote he says, I just blurt out, I'm eating cats and dogs in the you know, even neighbors' pets and shit like that, whatever. I'll just walk in and annoy the fuck out of them every single day. I just put it in their brain with just some stupid ass shit. Oh, I'm a better looking person than Kamala, and then somebody actually responded was like, that's because, have you seen Kamala? That's because he is. I'm like, dude, that's kind of gay, you know. I mean, not saying because I know you're gay, Jimmy. There's nothing wrong with that, but he's not gay. He's a straight conservative. So I like to bother very homophobic people with gay stuff. You know, that's like my form of comedy. So anyway,
shit happens.
But that's the best way. I'll say that's how to deal with them. But I don't know how you've been dealing with them lately. Because I know you get tired of trying to explaining shit, you know.
If that provides you catharsis, have fun with it. I don't. We get a lot of people. At least you're not calling in trying to tell us how to change. We get a lot of people who will call in and be like,
no.
Like yesterday or the day before or Wednesday, we had a caller call in, and I'm not going to name the streamer, but the streamer who I said would make it a clip because he's just such a predictable. I don't know why I want to use the word whore,
conservative streamer.
Well, you know, we don't need to give any hints. It's what he's doing it for. He's desperate. He's desperate to be spoken about.
I watch so many left wing. I gotta know.
Yeah, I hear you. But anyway, the person called in to be like, well, the conservatives are actually more compelling because they're not. But I am of the opinion that the thing that works best for an individual is the best version, because people are like, well, what you should do is behave like this and say this and say this and be like, got you. So play a character that does not at all come naturally, will be less effective and less quippy because you will be able to detect on my breath that it's nothing like me. Yeah, the whole thing is just fucking up. Man, you got the chat lighting up. Off. I'm bisexual for chat. People are like, he's gay? Yeah.
I forgot about it, obviously. I've been following you for years. I just, sometimes I just forget.
I even say pansexual.
It does. Like I said, it gets very annoying. Like it just. I mean, we have people in Ohio, I have people in Springfield. I literally know somebody who I went to high school with that stays like on the outskirts of Springfield, and like I said, I get tired. Like, dude, if you really believe in that shit, how about you go take a 3-hour fucking drive and go find out for your fucking self if all that crazy shit's happening? You know what I mean? It's like if you really want to stop just watching these clips and just believing it. Like I watch hours. I'll be out in my work all day. I'm either having you on all day, the whole podcast or clips, whatever.
I'm so sorry.
Certain calls and just whatever.
Well,
cool, I'll say that's this late in the election is no point in trying to convince a Trump supporter they're going to vote. The best way is
right now the most powerful thing people can do right now is convince people to register to vote, and then convince your friends who have registered to actually show up on the day.
Go vote.
Yeah.
Vote.gov. Make sure you get registered.
We got to turn up the voter. What's the word they always use for the number of people who show up? voter output. It's not output. Why am I blanking on a simple word? Voter presence.
Well, we have to like
turnout.
It's
voter turnout.
We already know Kamala is going to get the popular vote. We already know that. We just got to make sure because you already see that he's already trying to dabble in with the electors already.
Yep.
So, what was the state that they changed the laws last minute? I've just seen that last week.
Yeah.
They
Montana?
changed the laws last minute. I think that's what it was. Yeah, that's something with the
well, Nebraska's right now trying to change before the election. They want to change to prevent the 269 situation. They're trying to change the law to give the whole state to the popular vote instead of right now where of their 4 votes, 2 go to the popular winner and then the other 2 are by district. And so that often means one vote to the Democrats.
That don't pay attention to politics. I love to tell people like, dude, he's actively, dabbling. Like he was holding those places that he's are making those changes. That's where he's holding those elections or his rallies. He's holding less rallies. He's more holding like I'll say specific strategic rallies because. One, he can't have them inside because we already know he owes the inside ones, and he's already had 2 attempts on his life, which nobody cared about. But so he has to do them outside, which he looks stupid with the damn shield around him or the glass shield. But So, but anyway, though, Jimmy, I just want to tell you that like I said, I know it gets tiring. It gets tiring to explain the shit, but that's the best way to deal with them. Got to annoy them with the shit that Trump says. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I have like 3 people on the cusp, and I feel like if 3 people is enough, and we know Ohio needs it because they're fucking JD Vance. My God,
they might turn Ohio away with that racist ass rhetoric. It would be crazy if they turn that into a swing state. We are gonna move on.
I want JD Vance to ramp up his shit.
Yeah.
And constantly get fact checked in these interviews, so he keep getting exposed, so it keep drawing people away from the right wing vote, and get them more on Kamala's side. I want him to actually keep ruining fucking Trump's chance. And I honestly, him and Walz is gonna have a debate soon.
Yeah, I think that's this week.
Can't wait for that one.
Yep.
Can't wait for that one. He definitely cooked. But anyway, Jim, it's good talking to you. I know you probably want to talk to somebody else who's more conversational, but
it was nice to have a little flavor reset here. But yeah, thanks, Steve.
Yeah, maybe we should bring back the go fuck yourself, Jimmy.
Maybe all right, there you go. Thanks, Steve. We'll talk to you later.
Nah, cool. You have a good one, man.
See ya. Yeah, that'll be Tuesday, the debate between Walz and JD Vance. And I don't want to get my hopes up, but at the same time, fucking hell. All right, we're talking to Peter in Virginia. Peter in Virginia, you're on the line with Jimmy Snow. I think your call is maybe the one I've been the most. You might be the one I've been looking for all night. It says here that you feel that you dislike Donald Trump. Or rather that you like Kamala Harris's policies overall better, but cannot bring yourself to vote for her because of the abortion issue as you are a Catholic. Anything else you want to share on top of that, Peter?
Yeah, have you heard of FD signifier?
FD signifier?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I have.
Vehemently anti-Kamala.
Okay.
And he's a leftist.
Okay.
So what would you have to say to black leftists that are anti-Kamala?
Get over it.
Well, that's easy to say as a white boy.
Okay. Do you have an actual non-identity politics position to present, or were you just here to say this thing about, are you even actually a Catholic?
You're a white boy.
Okay. And? Okay. Go ahead. Continue on. It was the same lonely pedophile, apparently. That was unfortunate. It actually seemed like it could be a pretty cool call, but that dumb pedophile keeps calling in to whine and complain, and all he wanted to just keep saying was, fuck you, white boy. You're a white boy. Fuck you, white boy. You're a white boy. White boy. Fuck you, white boy. Anyway, fuck you, pedophile. That must be why I called in with the name Peter. Peter File. Good old Peterphile. That's right. What a bummer. That would have been a neat call to do. Just called to get on the air. So far tonight, fuck you, you're a Mormon polygamist. Okay. And fuck you, you're a white boy. No lies tonight, at least. Other nights included lies, but tonight I am a white boy. I am technically a Mormon, despite being an atheist. And I am at least polyamorous. It's pretty tangential. Pretty cute. Should we do super chats? If y'all send super chats, I'll do super chats. Go ahead. Let's end the show on a high note. Let's get some super chats going. Maybe I'll throw some music into the mix. What if I did that? Y'all have been good. We can let's turn that to that and then pump over to some Spotify. I think about like Spotify whenever I hear Spotify. Spotify. Let's get some maybe some beats. Maybe some not beats. What was I gonna say? Some I like doing lo-fi. I've enjoyed that. Get some lo-fi going. Here we go. We'll do. Oh, that was Mr. Brightside from The Killers. Luckily, it was only for a second. I think we're safe. Oh, also, it wasn't. I have to unmute for you to even be able to hear it in the first place. Oh, here I am, just a Mormon polygamous white boy. All right, Spotify. What a whiny little pedophile bitch who keeps calling in. Imagine having only that life, just trying to troll a channel because you're lonely and can't get an adult to like you, and then just spend the rest of your time just being a pedophile. All right. Wow, you guys are not sending super chats. I guess nobody wanted super chats read. Have we had any tonight? Let me go check back. Okay, there's been 2. Damn, I guess I'm working for nearly free. 3. All right, we'll get them in. This might affect how many future ones of these there are, because we do have to pay the bills to do these things. But if you don't have anything you want to super chat, or if you're like, Jimmy, your energy's kind of low, how do you expect us to be excited? This isn't going to get us off. I kind of understand that. All right, let's send this over and go to boop-a-doop. Boop-a-doop, rope-a-dope, eepy-dap-a-deepy-dope. $10 from Tall Girl 195. Hey Jimmy, I thought of a serious question. What news sources do you prefer? P.S. You're funny as fuck. Go fuck yourself. Go Jimmy yourself. I will consume a lot, including right-wing media sources. I like the things that I like what ground news does. I will definitely read a lot of BBC, a lot of world news, even CNN's journalism sector, and they're like international journalists. It's like a very different experience than like local CNN. Local CNN kind of sucks, but international CNN, even the channels aren't so bad. Even the video portions of international CNN are quite a bit different. But yeah, ground news is pretty good. I definitely subscribe to Zateo, which is Mehdi Hassan's news arm, and I've been enjoying that. I like him. Yeah, I guess that's probably the answer I have for you. Skeptoidia says, people worried about an illegal taking your job. Maybe don't suck at your job. If I owned a business, I'd take a hard worker over a lazy ass any day. Yeah. I'm waiting for these to pop in so I can put them in the queue. Thank you, people, for showing your appreciation for a little Saturday night stream. I could have been out partying instead, people. You know me. That's a thing I do. I could have gone partying. Don't you want? I could have been out being the social light of Austin, Texas. Could be out just cashing necks and breaking checks. You think I said it wrong, but did I? Would love to see, Rob P says, would love to see the vaccine dude try that conversation with Forrest. Sure, I think Forrest would tell him essentially the exact same thing. The thing that people don't know about me is that while Forrest is certainly the expert we have, my bioeducation is not zero. But I like to do conversations as much as just a person talking to a person, which is why I try not to cite by education. I try not to cite past jobs. I try to never do anything that even resembles anything besides us chilling. Just so people know that generally we read the $5 and up super chats. How do you deal with Dillahunty simps? Me as simp, I ignore them. Let's see. Here is from the wonderful, always so supportive, Mr. Boricua. John being just as infuriating tonight. Any chance the man will ever take the initiative to not be dishonest? Same for Enrique to do so. It's just foundationally, they don't actually care about, at a certain point they want to stop and just speak matter-of-factly, and they aren't used to talking to people like me who has gone multiple layers deeper. And that's kind of one of the funny things is like, I could argue their side's better than them, which is that's actually the idea behind one of the game shows that is in pre-development after the election, is that sort of idea, basically proving whether or not you as a debater are as capable as debating in a way that your opposition would accept. I don't want to give too much away, but basically that. Sorry, I just had to open one of your profiles because I thought one of you might be a person I know. But it's not. Alice, I'm afraid you're not the Alice I thought you were. You're not the Alice. You're not the Alice I thought you were. It sounded very dramatic. Kaleidoscope Green, thanks for the show. Thank you so much for the $5. Did I already read that one? Skeptortius, a sandbox pirate. That's what I call them. Hell yeah. I don't remember what that's a referral to. But I agree, and we'll call it that now also. Sapphic Bibliophile says, here's $5 in spite of not getting anyone off. Hashtag disappointing. All right, I'll do it for y'all. Those of you who will know what this is, know what this is. Everybody else, don't try and ruin it. Don't try and point out what it is. I should be charging money for this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now. You're welcome, fucking weirdos. That I would deserve to get canceled for. Cancel me for that. That wasn't okay. Oh, God. Jamnik says, what are your thoughts on the similarity between accelerationists like the caller from Tennessee and Christians that want the rapture to come? I was thinking the exact same thing while they were on. I was like, how are you better than those people who are like, we have to bomb Gaza because that's important to the return of the Savior? I wouldn't see them as very different. Secular Felinist says, here's some hydroxychloroquine money. Go sublate your wood, Jimmy. Did I skip? I'll go look for it. You might have, did you use a different, oh, there it is. I didn't mean to skip it. I'm sorry. We'll get that in there right now. Brooks Dingus says, people vote for Trump because he supports their belief in white Christian nationalism. That's true. That's true. And I'm aware of that. For the record, I do know what a lot of but I like to then have the discussion with them to show them that it's not as straightforward as they think it is, especially if you value America and what America was founded on. And anybody who wants to claim this is a Christian nation, I am ready to disabuse you of that notion. They only need to actually call in. Did anyone figure it out? Yeah, some people figured it out. All right. Here's some hydroxychloroquine. Oh, yeah, we read that one. Thank you for that hydroxychloroquine, Cash. I appreciate it. Weldon says, thanks for all you do. Keep these shows coming. We're going to continue to have political shows on the weekend through the election now. I don't know how many of them will feature me, but we are going to bring in some other people, including Owen Morgan, who will now be a more official part of the line. Telltale, he's going to be coming in to do some of these political shows, and we're going to get the things moving. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's gonna be me every episode. I'll probably do at least one each weekend, and try to pair myself with somebody who won't mind if I can be a little boisterous. I might also start doing some on other days, just not at the same time as line shows on my channel, Jimmy Snow. That may also be the thing. Is that the one I just read? Thanks for all you do. Keep these shows. Yeah, that was the one. Okay. And then from Lady Alice, who I mistook for a different Alice. You're just not the Alice I thought you were. Lady Alice says, nothing to say. I just want more of these delicious shows. Are they delicious? My God, the deliciousness. I don't know how to interpret that the show is delicious. What would make one show delicious over another? This one has a bit more spice in it, perhaps? Is that what's going on? Anyway, Carla J says, Jimmy, please do an ASMR video with Forrest for me to sleep to. It would make some money with the crowd. Other than that, go fuck yourself. Did you watch the Super Chats from Wednesday? Because we did, I think, the whole segment in ASMR. Honestly, I'm so jealous of his ASMR voice. Because when I whisper, I whisper. But he maintains the tone of his voice, but gets very quiet with it. So he'll sound sort of, but I can't do it. I just sound raspy. I sound like I've been smoking for years. I'm very, very jealous of his. I mean, I'm often jealous of him for many reasons, but he's such a positive man with so much serotonin. That's like a type of resentful jealousy. I resent how much serotonin he gets compared to me. I think he got all of mine. I think that's how it worked. Raven Lunatic says, I would have sent $10 if it was Forrest hosting. Okay, people. Okay. You know we love each other, right? Stop trying to make us compete. He works here. I want him to be competitive. I want him to be like, yeah, I'm incentivized to do more shows and attract more people. Fuck yeah. Rises all boats. And is the captain of the boat. I want my boat risen. Got to do another countdown. 5, 4, just kidding. Arena says, when can you get the updated vaccine that you mentioned, which has newer strains? I believe it's available now, but it might have been first week of October. I know that I was waiting for that very reason to get the newest one. McRoot says, low energy. Nah, you were great as usual. Oh, I'm just saying I'm lower energy now. It might be harder for me to be like, guys, send your super chats. Don't you want all of this all up in your earballs? But thank you very much. It's very reassuring. Harper Liar says, what kind of music do you like to party to? Matt, I have a quite random eclectic assortment. It'll be like classical, not classical, but like classy older music and just very sweet things. And then it'll just be like, I'm really into music where it's going to sound like I'm just trying to be like a pick-me feminist. But songs where like women are like, yeah, I am a slut, and that's a good thing. Like where they're very much celebrating their sexuality. Like there's the song Strut by Emmeline, I don't know how you pronounce it, but I don't do the walk of shame, I strut. I just came to fuck. That kind of stuff gets me going. Hipster Dofus says, when the U.S. moves to the left, how do you think the former Repubs who have shows on MSNBC will report it? I feel they are already pushing to center. I don't know how long that's going to take is the main thing. I'm not saying that I even think that. I think we'll have an American left, though, in my lifetime when it's dominating American left. I don't know. But again, so much will have changed about the world. Just the defaults of what is acceptable will have changed very, very much. So it's really hard to predict, if I do say so myself, despite the fact that I have so often on this channel proven that I'm a bit of an oracle. A little bit of an oracle. Did I scare Alice off by saying you're not the Alice I thought you were? Jamnick06 says, I sent $20 in super chats to the line on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, then 30 on Thursday. If you keep having weekend shows, I'm going to go broke. Hashtag still worth it. We very much appreciate your support. Obviously, never prioritize us over like important things. Never give us your last dollar. But for those who have the ability and do like to support, I sure do love to see it from you. Here is from David Cook, $20. Hey, Jimmy, I'm a former libertarian, American style. I know, gross. I'm starting to find I lean more socialist, but I'm still on the fence. Could you point me towards some modern thought leaders? Man, this is so hard because I don't have any heroes. I mean, if you like digital media, I know, and there are going to be lots of people who are annoyed by this, but a lot of people get quote unquote radicalized by Hasanabi and Vosh and the likes of them. As far as if you like I said, the video stuff. There's some podcasts I listen to. I'm really also bad at thinking of names and stuff. And then I was reading recently some basically like history books that are more like, hey, here's the things that they've left out because they're the leftists. But I hate this question because I hate trying to recommend people and I can never remember anybody. I can never remember people. Hassan and Vosh end up in my recommended, even though I don't watch my peers at all because I don't want to accidentally steal from my peers. And yet they are so in my feed so often. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, Dusty B, glad you're feeling better and losing weight from one LGBT tummy issues boy to another. Thank you. Yeah, it's like the one good thing about all the stuff I've had to do for this health shit is I'm deteriorating. Why is that word so strange in my ears right now? In my mouth, actually. Why no good mouth words make? From Real Vad Putin, what you need to do is sit down and have a chat with Jesus and Ayn Rand. Yes, that's true. That's true. It'd be too sexy, though. We'd just be a three-way nonstop. We'd all be too horned up for each other. Brooke Dingus says, thanks, Jimmy. Love your call. Cause I want to shows. Jimmy. I appreciate you. Thank you to Homespun Covers. Brinpu KC says, great show. Was hoping for one tonight and it appeared. Yeah, I kind of had put it on I think we'll this week schedule stuff for next weekend. But for this week, just because of the aforementioned health stuff, I kind of decided an hour before each show whether I was going to do one. Court from New Zealand says, my fave combo is you and Forrest, especially when you spend 10 minutes zooming in on your own faces. Love from New Zealand. I love that guy. I really do. Forrest is just easy to love. He's a very easy to love person. Emery says, on the note of how to deal with family, in my experience, it's easier to maintain relationships with progressive Christians than others, so I just try to meet them where they are at and push them left. Hell yeah. Yeah, the parts of my family that need the most convincing are parts of my family that I virtually never speak to, so I don't know why I always get the question about how to change families' minds, because it ain't something I'm good at. I'm good at changing other people's minds. Family just has a different set of buttons. Jamnick says, it's not my last dollar, so here's more money. Could you please cite the stat about if 20% of registered Dems in Texas have voted in 2020, it would have gone blue? Man, shit. It was somebody who did the research and put it up, but I saw it on Instagram. I had, let's see. What percentage registered Democrats to flip Texas? And I'll see if I can at least quickly find that video. Man, I really want to tell you what he brought the receipts, but I think I saw it on Instagram and I'm not finding it very quickly. And the video literally starts with the guy saying, like, send this to every Democrat voter in Texas, you know. Shit. I'm sorry. It'll take me too long to find it. I don't think I can dedicate the amount of time it would take, but I'd have to find him and then the receipt, which I remember I followed the receipts too, but I use multiple devices, so even checking history would be a lot. And I don't remember what the exact numbers are, but I think it was 20%. I think it was 20% to flip the state, 15 or somewhere between 10 and 15% to flip the governor, and it was less than 10% to flip Ted Cruz's seat. Sorry. There might be days where I'm sharper and not at the end of my energy that I would have a better shot at it. Caden says, go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Don't apologize to him and go Jimmy yourself. Last time I super chatted was to tell Jimmy that beer is delicious. I still defend that, but now I'm almost 2 years sober, so thanks science for non-alcoholic beer. I'm surprised that you went with the non-alcoholic. I would have thought just cutting yourself off at some point you would have realized like, oh, I don't need to drink carbonated, unsweetened banana shit. Because that's what beer tastes like. But I support your sobriety. Very good job on 2 years. Seriously. Very good. Very, very good. Sobriety's not easy. Not fucking at all. $5 for Monkey at Typewriter. Sexually liberated, usurping tyranny. I told a friend's mom that this was my redefinition of the word, and she, 78 years old, was laughing hard. I like it. That's good slutting. I enjoy positive sluttiness. This may be the last one unless something comes in. Homespun covers, you need to investigate Dana inspired to be a host. She needs more exposure and would bring a lot to the show. Shoot me links on Instagram and I might take a look, but I'm definitely not going to promise now that it'll be soon or that they'll get a spot. Usually the best way to get a spot is to get noticed by one of the other people, one of the other hosts or somebody that works with us a lot, and for them to say, hey, I'd like to have them on the show. In fact, anymore, because I'm sort of the nucleus of the atom that is the line, I am very much less involved with that extended network of stuff anymore. Let's see. We've got Poor Claire says, go fuck yourself, Jimmy. I thank you, Poor Claire. And Emery King, Jimmy, did your autistic brain interpret my comment as me literally meeting someone where they are at and pushing them? Because when you read it, I did. No, I thought you were saying push them to the left politically, but my brain is definitely capable of things like that, so I understand why you asked. Mr. Boricua, you wanted me to say the roll that R. The part of my family that needs the most convincing is one I live with, but this guy will never change his mind. Thanks. Did I send am I showing this? Yeah. Thanks. It's all pie in the sky ideas to not happen. I wish, look, it's still powerful to present that you believe differently, because when those people do come around, some of them do, they will lean on you for support and want to be able to talk through things and be able to. But for me, I have great relationships with some of the people who deconstruct from my family, but it's after the fact. I wasn't the person who pushed them to the, revelation of, oh, it's all bullshit. Fuck. And so, yeah, it just depends. Depends on you. Don't miss the Sunday show tomorrow with Matt Dillahunty and Forrest Valkai, and then return in the evening to see, let's see who it is. I don't remember. Sometimes I forget. It is John Gleason and Eric of Skeptics and Scoundrels. Monday will be Dr. Aaron Adair and certainly another person. And then the dynamic duo will be back for Chewed Gum. That's Alyssa and Eve Was Framed. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me tonight. Thanks for the memories, even if they weren't so great. That's to the callers. She tastes like you, only sweeter. Anyway, this was fun. I had a good night. I hope you had a good time. And as I recall, I always forget to fix the outro. So the outro to this one, thank you, Aaron Randall, for the very last moment blank super chat. Nothing to read here except that you've been here a year. So we're celebrating you for that reason. We go out the way we came in. It's the intro because I fucked up the rest. Let's fade off this music and play that thing button.